In this video, I'm going to give you a quick tour of Design Space for all the newbies out there, all the new Cricut owners who just want a quick overview of all the features in Design Space to get an idea of how they work and what you can do with them. We're going to try to do this and get through it within not too lengthy of a time period, but I am going to go through these rather quickly, and then I'll be putting out more videos that are more in depth on each of the features. So we'll start up here at the top left where your name is after you've logged into Design Space. And you have several settings under here. First is calibration. This can be used to calibrate your printer with the Cricut Explorer. Now, it's my understanding that the Explorer 1 and Cricut Air came calibrated from the factory. Honestly, I don't know how they do that because each printer is a little bit different, so I would probably go through this calibration anyway just to make sure. But it is to calibrate the accuracy of the cut to match the accuracy of the printing of your printer, because each printer has slightly different settings and will print just a little bit differently. The Manage Custom Materials is probably more for advanced users, but you can manage your materials in here for the types of materials, the cut pressure, how many times it cut, and the blade type that you're going to use. Most of the materials, most people do not mess with this, but when you get into some more advanced materials, things that may not be listed, and you may need to create a custom material and add in all the details in order for it to cut. And once you have added one in, I don't think anyone really needs to change the presets here, but once you have added one in, you can also edit it. So you may find out that you need to cut a material twice, or you may need to add some pressure or something to cut all the way through the material. Again, this is probably more for advanced users than a beginner. Next, we have the new machine setup. So if you are a brand new user and a brand new account, you can go through this to register your machine. And the update firmware only needs to really be done if it prompts for the update firmware, which is not very often. This does not have to be done every time they update the software. Since I've had mine since January of 2015, I think they've only updated firmware once. This is different from a plugin or software. Next, we have the account details. If you click on that, it will take you to your account information. Of course, I've got mine blanked out for privacy reasons. But if you click the Edit Account button, it will take you to the Cricut website so you can see your information. Make sure up here at the top it says Sign Out, which means you are signed in. If it says Sign In, you may not see any information. But once you are signed in and you use your same login, your same email and password, you can see all of the information about your account and your subscription, your link cartridges, your registered products, shipping information, and all those kind of details that are on file with Cricut. And of course, this will allow you to link your cartridges if you have hardware cartridges to link to your account. And then, of course, you can sign out. Now, the buttons down the left, you can insert an image from the Design Space library. And the library has over 50,000 images, and I believe over 30,000 of them at this time are included in the subscription. So you will see some that may say subscribe, some say free, and then some will have a price. And the ones that have a price are typically licensed images, such as Disney images that you see. And if you've purchased images, you will see that it says purchased underneath of it. And if you click on the little eye, it will give you the name of the image as well as the image number and a title for the image. Up the top, you can view all images. You can view them by categories, or you can view cartridges that you may have linked, or there will be some cartridges that may be available as part of the subscription. On the right hand side, you can search for an object, and it will bring up any images that are related to your search. And over here, you can reset your filter, your search filter. And you can also choose to view small thumbnails or large thumbnails of the images. And the little funnel allows you to filter. So you can filter based on your images, the uploaded images you may have uploaded, free images, subscribed images, or purchased images, or you can use these options to narrow your search even further. The next button is Upload Images. So if you have what are called flat images like JPEGs, PNGs, GIFs, or BMPs, you can upload these. And you can also upload SVG files or DXF files, which are scalable vector graphic files. On the right-hand side, you can upload a pattern to fill objects with a pattern fill, which is a new feature in September 2015. Once you have uploaded images, if you wish to delete them, you can click the little I and click the delete button. At this time, you can only delete one image at a time. You cannot select images to delete. However, if you do want to select multiple images to insert, you can do so. To insert an image, you simply select it and click the Insert Images button. And I'll make one quick point here. Sometimes people will accidentally zoom in on their browser and they won't see the Insert Images button. And you can always press Control plus the 0 key to reset the zoom on your browser if that happens. Once you have inserted an object or text or anything on your design canvas, I want to point out a few things. At the top left corner, you have a button to turn your grid on and off. That used to be defaulted to off, and with the latest update, it now defaults to on. Down below, you can see two faint buttons that allow you to zoom in and out on the canvas. And once you select an object, you'll get a bounding box, and you'll have four handles, one on each corner. The one at the top left, the red circle with the X, deletes the object. The one on the right allows you to rotate the object. And you can see that as you rotate it, shows you the degrees that it's been rotated. The bottom left is an unlock button. And if you unlock it, it allows you to adjust the size disproportionately of length versus width. And if you lock it, it will keep the proportion as you adjust the size. And of course, the bottom right button allows you to resize the object. The next button allows you to insert basic shapes or a score line. And these objects are free images to insert into your project. And you can just simply click one and insert it. The next button allows you to select and enter text. And like objects, I can adjust the size of that text, and I'll show you how to make more edits to the text a little bit later on. The Set Canvas button allows you to select a canvas type. So if you want to work on a shirt canvas, you can insert that and then place your objects over the canvas to see how it would look on the design. And you can turn off the grid to get a clearer view of that design on the canvas. If I want to turn the canvas off, I can simply click the Set Canvas button and select a blank canvas. The Help button at the bottom left will show you, if you hover your mouse over it, it will show you the version of Flash and the version of the plugin you're running. This is just for informational purposes only. If you click the Help button, it will take you to the Cricut support page, which is an excellent resource because it has their phone number, their email address, and everything right there, as well as videos and guides to get started and to look up other information about the Cricut Explorer and the software. Now across the top, you see here where it says Untitled Project. I have not saved this project yet, and if I'm going to save it, it will put the name of the project right there. On the File button, you have the Make It Now selection, so you can choose to create one of the Make It Now projects that Cricut will have available on the main page when you sign into Design Space. You can choose to create a new project, or you can select My Projects and open an existing project, or you can click Save As and save your project with a name. And I'll do that, and I will save it. Now this is telling me the project cannot be shared. Do you still want to save it? I'm going to click OK. The reason it does that is if you have uploaded any images to your design, you will not be able to share it with anyone else through Design Space for copyright reasons. If you have created your design with Cricut images and fonts only, you can select to save your project by clicking the public box over here on the right hand side. And I'm just going to name this Test Project. And when I save it, it will give me a blue bar that says Project Saved Successfully. And sometimes it might be a good idea just to come back in and click on File, My Projects to make sure your project is listed. There have been some glitches where folks have thought they saved a project, but they didn't actually save it. And Design Space, like many computer programs, is not immune to glitches. So after you saved a project, especially if it's something you've worked on for a long time, it's a good idea to click Save As, give it a name, and then come back to make sure it shows it in the list of saved projects. And as you can see, the last time it was modified was today, and the public box is not checked because it has uploaded images. And the Edit project will allow you to change the name, and then of course you can delete the project here. While you're working on your project, it's a good idea to frequently click the Save button once it has been saved and assigned a name, so that you can just quickly save it to make sure any changes you make aren't lost if something should happen to your browser session or your computer or your internet connection while you are working. The next two buttons are Undo and Redo. So if I make a change to my project, I can undo it or I can redo it to see which way I would like it. And you can step forward and backward several times as you can in most Windows applications. And you also have Cut, Copy, and Paste. So if I want to duplicate an object or remove it or move it, I can cut, copy, and paste between this one session. At this time, you cannot create you can open multiple tabs and work in Design Space in different projects, but you cannot copy paste between sessions at this time. The next button is Select All, and this will select all the objects on your canvas at one time. Sometimes this button may not be available. It may be grayed out and disabled, so you can click one object and make it enabled, and then select all after you do so. The next button is the Arrange button, and this is used to move objects to the front or to the back of layers. So if I have this layer and I want to move the heart to the front, I can select the heart, I can select Arrange, and move forward or move to front. Move forward moves it forward one step. So if I have multiple layers, I can click 3 times to move it forward, and it will move it progressively forward one at a time. Or I can just simply click Move to Front, and it would skip all layers and move it directly to the front. And likewise, you have move back and move to back and move backwards. The next button is the Align button, and if I select all of these objects, I can click Align, and I can do various alignment functions, such as Align Top, and it will align the tops of all these objects. And one of the nice functions that you have is Align Center horizontally or Align vertically. And you can also click Align Center. So if you have, for example, 2 circles, one smaller than the other, you can select both circles, click Center, and it will perfectly place one circle over the center of the other one. Another nice feature it has is Distribute horizontally and Distribute vertically. And so if I have these 4 hearts selected, and between the first heart and the second heart, I can distribute horizontally, and it will evenly space those objects. And the next button is your Go button, which sends your objects to the cutting mat, or the preview mat, I should say. On this page, you can select the number of objects you want and click Apply, and it will duplicate. You can move these around, so if I want to save a little bit of vinyl, I can move these a little bit closer. Or I can also rotate them by doing so. You want to be a little bit careful because as you can see, when I rotated that, it moved off the top of the canvas, and I have to move that down or it would cut it off. And you want to be especially careful with that around the sides. Even though your mat is a 12 by 12 mat, it leaves a 1/4 inch border on each side so that you don't cut all the way to the edge of the material. So your actual cutting area is 11.5 by 11.5, or if you have a large mat, it's 11.5 by 23.5. If I want to scroll through the mats, I can click here and scroll forwards and backwards, or I can select the mat directly here, or I can select my material size here as well. And if I'm cutting this for example, to place on the inside of glass, like a car window, or maybe on the inside of the glass of a picture frame, or I'm cutting a design for HTV to iron onto a t-shirt or some other material, I can click the mirror image, and it will flip the image over the opposite way so that when it's ironed on, it will appear correctly on top of the surface of the material. And I can click Go, and it will find your Cricut and go to the Load function. And then once you load it, it will then blink the Cricut button and go to the Go level, and you can click the Go button on your Cricut, or the C button with the little Cricut logo, and cut. Here it tells you what your dial position is on your Cricut Explorer. And if you put it on custom, which is about the 9 o'clock position, you can select custom materials to cut. On the right hand side, you have 4 tabs. You have Layers, Edit, Sync, and Canvas tabs. And you can hide or show this by clicking these little dots here on the little border. And on the Layers tab, you have various functions that you can do. So the Slice function, I'll put a link on the screen to a video that shows you more in depth how to use the Slice function. But if you have 2 objects, no more, no less, you cannot have grouped objects or anything like that. You can put them together, and then you are able to slice them. And after I've sliced them, I can separate them, and it creates new objects for you to work with. The next function is Weld. Weld takes overlapping objects and makes them one. So if I overlap these 2 hearts, and I select both, and I click Weld, it will weld them together so that this is all one cut around the outside. If I did not weld them, and I attached these 2 pieces into place and cut them, it would cut both hearts and actually cut both of these pieces. You can weld more than one object, and they do not have to be touching to weld and make them one layer, as you can see. I'm going to skip real quick over to the Sync tab to show you how it works for another reason you'll see in a moment. And so I have two different colors here, two different layers, and if I want them all to be one color, I can drag and drop an object or the entire layer on top of another layer, and it will make the objects the exact same color. Now the reason I wanted them the same color is I want to show you how the attach function works. So we have the Troy tube and the 4 hearts, and they are all separate objects. As you can see, I can move them around individually. So if I click the go, if you notice Troy tube is on the top, and when I click go, it rearranges things to save material in the best way that it can. So if I want those to stay in place and cut as is, I would need to select them and then click attach, and then they become one object, and when I click go, they will cut and stay in place. Now once they are attached, I can click on them, and I can also detach them. And as you can see, they separated in the layers panel. The next feature is flatten. So if I want to print an object rather than cutting it, I can click the flatten button, and it will change to a printer icon here. And when I click the go button, it will ask me to print that object. Now if you notice it says a printable image is too large, please reduce the image size. That is because this area is larger than 6 by 8.5. On most web browsers, the print then cut area is limited currently to 6 inches by 8.5 inches. With Google Chrome, it's limited to 5.5 inches by 8 inches. So the next feature I'm going to cover is contour. Contour is used to hide cut or write lines. So I've inserted a simple circle that has an inner and an outer circle cut line to it, and I'm going to click contour, and as you can see, they highlight as I mouse over them, and so I want to hide the center cut. So if I click on it and then click the contour button again, you'll see it has hidden the inner circle, and it will cut as a solid circle. So this can be used to modify and tweak some designs, or maybe remove parts of a design that you do not want to cut out. And if I click contour, I can show that cut line again and turn it back on. So again, you're just hiding or showing cut or write lines with contour. So on the layers panel, you can see your various layers that you're working with. As you can see, some fonts built into the system have a shadow layer, and it is hidden. So if I hide that, you can see the shadow layer. And if I click on scissors, I can even change the color of that shadow layer. If the font does not have a shadow layer, you will at this time need to add a shadow layer using a third-party program like Inkscape, Shortcuts a Lot, or another vector editing program to do your design. This little icon allows you to change the image from a cut, a write, a score, or a print image. And of course, you can change the color by selecting one of the presets. You can enter the hex code for a particular color. For example, black is 6 zeros. Or you can select a color from the color wheel down below. If you change your design to a write, you can choose the pen color as well as the width of the pen, and it will prompt you to insert the different types and colors of pens as it is writing when it gets to the appropriate color. You can change to a score line. So if you want your object to print, you can either change the color or you can choose pattern fill. And if you choose to do a pattern fill, you can choose one of the pre-selected patterns or one that you've uploaded under the upload pattern fills option. It will print the object with the pattern filled in and then cut it out for you. Down here on the bottom right, you have a few more options, and if you have selected multiple objects, you can group or ungroup those objects, and if you group them, it just simply allows you to move them around on the mat. It is not the same as attach. Attach keeps them in place for writing or cutting and word printing, but group just allows you to attach things without altering them so that you can move them around together as a single object on your mat, and then you can of course ungroup them to move them individually. You can delete an object here, and you can also click duplicate object, which is oftentimes much faster than doing copy and paste to duplicate an object, and it will duplicate that object and the layer. Next, we have the Edit tab. If you're selected on just a standard object, the Edit tab will have adjustments for the size, so you can set a precise height or width. And the same thing applies with the lock. If you unlock it, you can adjust the size individually and disproportionately, or you can lock it and just adjust one size, and it will keep the proportions of width and height. You can manually rotate a set of degrees, or you can also mirror flip an object. And the XY position coordinates are the position on the mat of the XY coordinates where it's located on the design canvas. Now, if you have selected a text object, you'll see that you get quite a few more options, and you can select all fonts, system fonts, Cricut fonts, single layer, or has a writing style. If you've set your font to write and you do not want just outlines, you have to choose a writing style for it to be a single line. Otherwise, your pen will write the same paths along which it would cut around the outside edges. When you select the drop down to change the font, it may take a few seconds, so be patient, wait about 5 to 10 seconds, and don't click again, or it may cost you even more time waiting on the drop down. So you can scroll through your fonts and see which one you want. And again, all fonts are not included in the subscription. And of course, you can choose bold, italic, or bold, italic, and writing italic font styles. Not all fonts may have this, so sometimes if you insert a system font or maybe a font you've downloaded, you may just get boxes with X's in it, and that might be because not all the characters are included in that custom font, so you may have to change it to bold or italic or something like that to get them to show up. And here we can set an exact point size for the font, and we can left, center, or right justify, just like if you were working in Microsoft Word or another word processing program. And here, if you're selected on it, if I go look at my layers, you'll see that the font as well as the shadow layer is in one layer combined. And you can click this, and it will distribute to layers. So now if I go back to my layers tab, you'll see these are on separate layers now. You can also click isolate the letters, and it will separate your letters into individual objects. It's important to note that if you do this, these are no longer editable fonts. These are now objects just like you've drawn them, so you will not be able to change the letters without retyping them once you isolate the letters. Reasons you may want to isolate the letters would be to move them closer individually. Sometimes the font kerning isn't very accurate in Design Space, so you may want to manually adjust them and move them closer together, or rotate them, or do whatever you want with the letters individually. A lot of times people will insert a circle and then use that circle to isolate the letters and place them on an arch curve around the circle like this to create a curved word effect. You can also manually adjust the spacing between the letters. If you have multiple lines, you can adjust the amount of space between the lines in one set of writing, or maybe a paragraph. And here you can set hard limits on the physical size. So if you wanted this to take up exactly 10 inches of space wide, you can do so. You can also manually rotate, mirror, and flip images, as well as set the XY coordinates just like you can on an object in the regular Edit tab. And I'll show you a quick tip on what you may want to use welding and separating and spacing of letters for on fonts. So I'll change this font to Script MT Bold, and it is a cursive script. And as you can see, the letters are not quite in place as you may want to see them. So I can isolate the letters, or I can click Ungroup, and it will separate them. And I can move these a little closer. And as you can see, the E is not quite overlapped there, and the B is not quite overlapped here. Same thing with the O and the R. And the T is a little bit farther away. And maybe I want to select all four of those and move them just into the right spot. And now these are all separate letters, so I'm going to select all, and then I can go to my Layers tab and click Weld, or I can right-click and select Weld also. And as you can see, it made those all one pieces, so that when it cuts, it will cut around all the outsides and not cut the overlapping parts of the letters. Again, the Sync tab is to allow you to synchronize colors between layers easily. And the canvas, as I mentioned before, is to allow you to set a working canvas, such as the type of material that you're going to be applying to, like a t-shirt, a tumbler, a glass, or anything like that, that you may want to see a preview of how your design is going to look. So that is a quick tour of Design Space, and hopefully that's been helpful to you.
If my video has been helpful to you, please subscribe to my channel. And after you subscribe, be sure to click the little gear and check this box so that you'll receive an email notification when I upload a new video. You can also help support my channel by making a small donation on patreon.com/Troy Young.